Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the stream. It's me, DIGI. Welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is actually Flight Simulator or FS 2020, the first iteration of the reboot, which got released, strangely enough, about 6 days from now, 6 years ago. August 18th, 2020, I believe, was the release of probably one of the most heralded pieces of flight sim software, like pretty much ever since what? Like, I don't know what. I know flight simulation is having its heyday again, but I can't recall of a release that's been bigger or more talked about than when FS 2020 released back in 2020. We had a lot of folks come around, a lot of people that were carrying the torch, so to speak, which were here until they weren't. After everybody, came out of the what I call the Rona phase and got back into the world, we kept the people that stuck around for a while, and I'm one of them. But I was here before then, and I'm here after. At any rate, welcome. We are in FS 2020 deliberately because we're going to fly a plane that's best experienced in the old platform, the Phenom 100. Courtesy of Cockspur, I call them Cockspur Dev Team. They've released this, I don't know, is it going on like 3 or 4 years now? It is technically flyable in FS 2024. The last time I tried, I think there were a few issues, but I don't know if they've released any updates since. All the same, unless there's a major issue with it here, I'm relatively comfortable flying it in FS 2020. Now, we're going to grab a call sign and we're going to set up November 6532 Zulu, and that's the tail number. Nothing else needs to be done. What we're going to do next is we're going to pick an airport to fly out of. We're going to fly out of SeaTac. Now, I've never done a BizJet flight out of SeaTac, and I would presume, well, I was going to presume that, but that's the cargo ramp. So, let's see. Cargo ramps all the way up? No, I want to say that there's probably, oh no, wait, hold on. Yeah, that's cargo. Plenty of cargo, cargo. This could be the GA ramp. Possibly. So, we'll take it. We'll take ramp 131 and we'll set up for a flight. It's going to be live time. Right now it is 12:38 in Seattle, and I'm going to keep all players and live traffic on. So if you are in East USA, you're welcome to fly along. More than happy to take a military escort to Kalispell if that's the desired impact. But we are going to be flying from Seattle to Glacier Park, which is above the Kalispell VOR. So again, welcome in everybody. Let's go ahead, get loaded into FS 2020 and have a good time. Wishing everybody a very good Wednesday afternoon. We will catch up a little bit more once we get the bird rolling, but for the most part, we have probably about 20-ish minutes for me to get the flight plan set. There shouldn't be that many waypoints to install, and I think we should be good. Now, of course, bear in mind, if you've watched any recent Microsoft Flight Simulator streams from myself or from other viewers, this is FS 2020. This is the older version. Microsoft released FS 2024 back in November of 2024, and it's been through several iterations already. So the trees look better. I think overall scenery looks better. So I've got maybe one or two other customizations in. So your screens may vary. But with that said, it is still a nice sim to have. And actually, it does look like we have model matched traffic, or it seems to do really well with Alaskan Airlines, so I'm not going to have a problem with that. We are going to go ahead and get set up for our flight, provided we don't run into hiccups here. Ooh, we've got a lot of people coming in, a lot of virtual traffic. So we'll have plenty of things to look at as we get ready to get out of here. With that said, let's go ahead and get our ground equipment set for a departure to Kalispell. Let's put the chocks in for now and set the GPU so that we can get some generator goodness. And let's get the gens kicked on, battery turned on. And let's see. Oh, right, the cabin lighting's above. I forget that. So let's do supply control packs auto, and we're going to restore oxygen flow. Okay, that's fine. Let's hide the yokes for now. And fuel pump, I'll probably turn on a little bit later. Let's get the seatbelt signs on, and ELT can be turned back to armed. Hydraulic pump to auto and ADS AOA to auto. Window heats can come on, and I think that's all I need right now. Let's also go ahead and set pressurization to auto, bleed to both, and that I think is all I need to do downstairs for now. Ignition will probably turn on in just a little bit, not right this instant though. Meanwhile, I will get my nav lights on, get the panel lighting all the way up, and for courtesy, I'll turn the upwash lighting on until we get ready to depart. So, November 6532 Zulu, my registration. We are at SeaTac Kilo Sierra Echo Alpha. Let's go ahead and get the flight plan started, shall we? So, flight plan here. Where are we going to fly out of? We're going to fly out of KSCA. So, Kilo Sierra Echo Alpha. That's SeaTac, and the runway we're using today is going to be runway 16 left. Runway 16 left selected, enter. And then destination is going to be Kilo Golf Papa India, which is Kalispell, Missouri. Montana, not Missouri. Going to be landing on runway 02. And there we go. Now, the en route map is going to be the Mountain 2 departure. So if I go to procedure, I should probably be able to select it. There we go. Select departure. Let's take the Mountain 2. Mountain 2, we're taking 16 left for a departure, and that means 840 feet climb, going to, let me check the map. I'm looking at a separate screen right now. Peak, and then heading to Mansec. Really? Where's Mansec? Let's take a look. That's interesting. Okay. Now, let me just leave that alone for now. We'll load the flight plan, and let me zoom out. Okay, so Mansec is right after peak. Got it. En route waypoints, we have several. We have, we're not going to be, I mean, we're going to be overflying Seattle on departure. And then we're going to be going to Zaydon. Then we're going to be going to Zelak. Then we're going to be going to Ziran. The pattern here is quite interesting. And one more. Zaxby. Interesting. I don't think I've had this much fun saying out the the waypoints for a flight ever. Okay, so now that I've got the en route waypoints in, I'm going to choose the approach. We're not going to have an arrival into Kalispell. We're going to choose ILS 02, and we'll be coming in from the Olibi approach fix. Now, minimums. If I take a look at the airport weather, courtesy of SimBrief, or excuse me, Navigraph charts, Kalispell has winds 060 at 14 knots and skies clear. So if I take a look at the approach, we're probably, well, we were probably going to be visual, but the actual barometric minimums are 3166. If I choose radio altimeter and it's clear skies, we're going to have 200 feet. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and choose, make it a lot easier for me. We will load it, but we will not activate it. Not approved for GPS. GPS guidance for monitor only. Okay, that's fine. All right, we're good. And Mansek, Zadon, I wonder why those two aren't connected. I don't know. I guess we'll have to figure out, and I might use the direct button to go direct Zadon once I get to peak, but we'll see. Otherwise, the flight plan is in the books. If we keep going south after peak, then I'll know what to do. At least I think so. Let's turn on flight directors and we'll get the yaw damper turned on. The departure heading for 16 left is going to be, well, magnetic deviation anyway, it's going to be 164. So let's set 164 for the heading bug. 64, 164, here we go. .164 for the heading. And we have localizer 1 right now. The ILS course for Kalispell is going to be 020. 020, let's go ahead and switch over to number 2. Same thing, 020. And that should do it, I think. I can get that set up. I'll set transponder code to 2257. And there we go. I will do altitude reporting so I don't forget to turn on my transponder before we get out of here. And one last check, get the timer set up, or excuse me, not the timer, the minimums for arrival. I largely ignore things like VREF and rotate. Number one, we're going to be taking off on a pretty substantially large runway. And number two, I'm going to, I guess, double check my numbers to make sure we're okay and just make sure that we're relatively not going to put ourselves in a bad way to get out of here. Now, let me take a look at the briefing. We're going to be taking 1,751 pounds of block fuel. We're under that right now, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust. A little bit extra might not be so bad. Okay, 1792 it is. And our payload for today is going to be 690 pounds. Little extra, again, IRL stuff adjustments, things like that. I would imagine, actually, you know what? Let's not imagine. Let's do a quick takeoff calculation. KSEA with a Phenom, 1,800 pounds fuel, and roughly 700 pounds payload. Runway 16 left. Performance numbers. Let's see. I found something. Robert Wilkos Aviation. And go to for takeoff distance of flight planning. Okay, yeah. Let's see. Light jet. It's going to be an Embraer Phenom 100, probably a 100 EV, and I believe it comes with Pratt Whitney engines. So next step, temperature. Oh, well, weather is going to play a part in this, obviously. Temperature is 26. Temperature is 26. So let's see what happens. Temperature 26. Um, pressure altitude. Pressure altitude. I don't know what that means. Pressure altitude. Oh, well, you know what? If I if I hit the B button and I see pressure altitude, I'm going to say it's going to be 380 feet. 380 feet. And relative humidity, I don't know because I don't know how to translate those numbers, but I know the dew point is 0.9er. So I'm going to make a guess here and say it's probably about 40% or less. And headwind, tailwind, winds are... Oh, you know what? I was looking at the weather for Kalispell. Okay, 290, temperature's 22 and dew point's 14, so it's a little bit more than 50%, I think. So it's actually 290 and 22. 22. And 380 for the pressure altitude. Relative humidity, I'm going to say about 54%. And headwind, 290 at 4. Why are we taking off to the south? That seems a little backwards. Hang on, let me take a look at the traffic again. Yeah, we are departing to the south. That's for sure. Whatever. Let's see. If it's coming in from the northwest, we're probably going to have a tailwind of about 2 knots. Runway length for 16 left is 11,000. It's almost 12,000, but I'm going to say 11,000. Or I could say 11,900. Dry asphalt. Runway slope, I'm going to leave it 0. And basic empty weight, I don't know. Oh, no, wait, hold on. That's what it says. Crew weight. So, crew weight, passenger weight, I'm gonna put the numbers in between both. Let's do crew weight. Let's do passenger weight and cargo weight. Actually, let's do 125 pounds of cargo weight. And next step. Okay, fuel on board. How many gallons do I have? Does it show me? It shows me pounds. So how many gallons do I have? Can I see that? Oh, I see 100 and so let's see, 133, almost 134 gallons each side. So 268, just about. I'm going to say 267. Planned distance is... Doesn't show me the planned distance. Let me go to the flight briefing. Planned distance. 350 nautical miles. That's interesting. And cruise altitude is definitely not going to be 8,000 feet. Cruise altitude is going to be 390. Okay. Reserve fuel policy, 45 minutes. So, ground roll, oof, ground roll, 816 feet. Total distance, 1,363 feet. Climb rate, 3,900 feet per minute. Wow. Um, that's that seems backwards. Okay, I think I need to adjust my my fuel. So, previous. Fuel on board, 267 gallons. Is there a way to turn that to pounds? Because I don't know. Okay, so we have 1,792 pounds of fuel, which I guess equates to roughly 267 gallons. So, all right, we'll take it. So that, I mean, this says I have like over 3,000 nautical miles of range, which is not the case. Um, Also, I think it's gotten some stuff wrong, but it was a nice exercise. I mean, I don't think I'm going to spend more than 4,000 feet rolling out, and I don't have doubts about being able to hit 390. It's just going to take me a little bit of time. Now, um, I'm going to have to configure for optimal climb rate, which is 170 knots on a flight level change, which is over here, and then that's it. But there we go. That's everything. All right. We have Pax Auto, bus tie to auto, and batteries, gens. I can take the chocks and the GPU away this time. So that's fine. And let's see. We'll get the fuel pumps to auto. And we've got seatbelt signs, ELT, hydro pump, ADS AOA, window heats on, cabin's pressurized or able to pressurize, and I'm going to put ignition to auto and confirm that we have throttle is idle, and we will configure for flaps 1 departure. I don't think we're going to need flaps 2 here. Again, ample runway surface to get out of here. The rudder pedals at least are free and clear. And yeah, yaw damper is set. So minimum's 200. I think we should be fine. And that'll do it. Okay, fantastic. Let's go ahead and check our surroundings. I could go ahead and request GSX pushback because we're a little tight here. Let me see what happens if I do. Okay, I don't care about that necessarily. Try another time. You know what I could do? I could refile the flight again, and since I don't care about it updating necessarily there, I'm going to update estimated off-block time, regenerate the flight, and it's going to be the same flight, so we should be okay. Okay, 1,791 pounds, and that's it. We are packaged and ready to go. Let's go ahead and push back and depart. We'll take Alaska.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
Fantastic. Happy to hear that. Okay, we've got a lot of traffic, so we're going to expect to see quite a few people coming in and coming out on takeoff.
Departure checks completed. Bypass pin inserted.
And again, we're flying with live traffic and East USA multiplayer if you want to join in. We are flying to Kalispell, and the flight plan is going to be in chat if you are curious. I will put it here, and that's it.
Locking gear.
We've got a load of traffic at SeaTac right now. Okay, so nose right, tail left, nose left, tail right. It's going to be option number 2.
Release parking brakes, please.
Parking brakes. Released.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
Okay, here we go. Let's do engine number 2 to start. Yep, starting up nicely. Let's go ahead and start engine number 1. And while I'm waiting,
Stall. Stall.
okay.
Please set parking brakes.
Parking brakes.
Waiting your confirmation for a good engine start.
I do believe we are good.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
Quite a bit of traffic at SCA. Nice 737 floating by.
Unlocking gear. Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed. Left is clear. Right is clear.
Okay, understood. All right, looks like they're set. They're getting out of town. Let's go ahead and finish our setup here. So, quick flight controls check. We've got full left, full right, full forward, and full back. Range of motion confirmed. Full left rudder and full right rudder done. And let's see. We are definitely positive in ITT temperatures, and one is within tolerance for symmetry. And that's it. Let's go ahead and taxi and get out of town. Give me taxi lights, please. Strobe lights, not yet. Upwash, let's go ahead and turn off for departure. You're such a phenom. See what I did there? Nice. Lyles, hello, welcome aboard. Quick hop over to Kalispell. We are leaving Seattle right now, and we are enjoying some live traffic. Let's go ahead and release the parking brake and begin our taxi roll. Now, The taxi rollout is going to be predominantly taxiway Alpha to, I think, to Delta, or Alpha to Charlie, but it doesn't really matter. There we are. We're rolling. We are on the move. Today's just going to be a chill flight. We are not on VATSIM, not on any ATC network. We're just enjoying the sim with the live traffic that's available and anybody flying in multiplayer in FS 2020. Now, I'm not going to see people flying multiplayer in FS 2024. It's just FS 2020. And the reason I'm in FS 2020 today is because I wanted to fly the Phenom 100, and I can also fly it in FS 2024, but it's 2020 native, which is to say it's not like 100% compatible with FS 2024, at least not the version that I have installed. Oh, that's right. We should use Join FS. Ping me or drop me a line anytime you want to fly Join FS, either this or next week. I'll try to break some time off so that we can just do even just a fun little knock around flight just to make sure it actually works. Because it was, or at least I do have it installed. I have it installed for FS 2024, and I think I have it installed for FS 2020. Okay, yeah. We'll talk. I know you wanted to use it, and I am still interested in using it. Ooh. Also looks like some folks are getting ready to fly cargo. Alright, so let me go ahead and squeak by because we have AI traffic that's taxiing all the way to the end of the ramp. Understood, my friend. I totally get it. I know you're coming up on the beginning of the school year again, and it's gonna, like, you know, it's if it hasn't already started up for you, I know it will soon. So I get it. All right, real quick check to make sure we're configured. Let me get flaps 1, and I think that's all I need to do. And don't mind if I do, I'm going to butt in behind the departing 737, which is now officially despawned. It's all right. I'll adjust the volumes once we depart, just in case we have issues. Oh, okay, August 31st. Got it. All right, do me a favor, let's get the timer started. There we go. All right, no worries. Get this up to about 50% or more. And give me max throttle. Airspeed's alive. 80 knots seen. Okay, here we go. Rotato. Ka-ching! I still don't know what that sound effect does, but it's funny. And we're out of here. Gear up. Okay, flaps to 0. Okay, about 800 feet. Let's go ahead and activate the autopilot. Nav. And give me flight level change. And give me 170 knots for the climb. And set the outcell for basically 3900. Yeah, I think I tried finding out about that once upon a time, and I couldn't figure out why. We are going direct to Peak, half a nautical mile. Let me go ahead and override at this point. We'll go direct to, actually, hold on. Not you. Go to flight plan. Let's go direct to Zedon. Or, excuse me, clear Mansec, and we'll go direct Zedon. Okay, activate, and now we're back on the flight plan. I don't know why the flight plan didn't connect Peak or Mansec to Zedon, but it's fine. We're on our way out. To remind you to retract landing gear. Now that is interesting. Mind you, to me it's like a funny little meme or a nod to saying something like, "Hey, we're up in the sky. We're making money." It's not necessarily a problem to me, but I feel like to some people it really would be a problem. So I low key wish it didn't happen, but I don't mind it. That emergency lights are turned off. Now that's something interesting because I have my ELT armed, but it's not on. So that's interesting. Let's see. Do have some traffic coming up, I think. And some traffic in front of me, but I don't think I have anybody on my line. Cabin crew that a positive climb on takeoff has been achieved and there are no immediate dangers that need to be alerted to from the takeoff. I mean, I would presume a ding or something would happen, not a cha-ching, but that's weird. That is weird. Huh. Whatever the case may be, we're definitely on the way out, and we're past 10,000 feet. So, landing lights off. And anything else? Look at all this live traffic. Wow. Okay. Anybody inbound? Let's see. No, no one immediately. Okay, good stuff. All right, we are on the way out of Seattle. Let's take a peek outside. Pretty good. All right, so total ceiling, total like final climb for this is going to be 390. I don't know if we will make top of climb. Actually, we should be fine. Another, I think, 15, 20 minutes and we'll be up there anyway. Looks like there is some weather to contend with, not much. And top of descent is going to happen as we get ready to descend into Kalispell. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to pay attention a little bit as we near, excuse me, as we near Glacier Park. System arming and transition. Interesting. That's actually interesting. Or somewhat interesting. Critical climb, flight protection, auto throttle modes. But there is one problem. The Phenom 100 does not have an auto throttle. That. It doesn't have an auto throttle. It does not have thrust reversers. It doesn't have speed brakes. What it does have is a slow approach speed and a relatively low takeoff roll consistently, like between I think 130 to 140 knots on runways between I want to say 3 to 5,000 feet long. It didn't take us that long to roll out. We climbed right above the AI traffic that crossed the runway. So it doesn't take much to get this thing up in the air. The engines are potent, and I think the jet is indicative of its class, a lightweight. So I'm happy with it. There's a bell ding. Okay, bell ding. Yeah. Don't know, man. Definitely food for thought. It's certainly not something that's irritating me to no end, but it is something that I think I'd prefer not to hear if at all possible. Whatever the case, I'm down. So, we're good. We are on our way to flight level 390, and it looks like we're going to be cruising for probably the better part of 30 minutes at that altitude. Probably. Otherwise, hope your Wednesday afternoon is a good one. I woke up really, really early this morning, and I went with Mrs. Digi to do a little bit of post-op stuff. She had surgery earlier this summer, as you folks know, and she went to go get checked up on it. There's additional, let's just say, additional things that are going to happen as a result of the follow-up that took place. So we're looking at another procedure or two to come, and then hopefully better days. So to put it in perspective, and for those of you that don't know, I am doing as much as I can for Mrs. Digi during the course of a typical day, or somewhat as I can for Mrs. Digi in between work and life. She has mobility issues. She has difficulty getting around, so I help to get her from place to place, transport, use a wheelchair. And there was some hope for the recent procedure which we took, or which she had performed, to help with pain management. Chronic pain and mobility inflicted pain is something that's an ongoing struggle. Literally, no pun intended, the absolute truth. But we are tackling it together as the Lord lets us, and there's reason to believe the next step will probably give her some continued relief as she moves forward. Meantime, I will continue doing what I can and also continue trying to not um, do too much on my own here. What's the phrase I'm going for here? I'm going to try to keep myself available, manage my resources, and not go bananas trying to do everything. It's hilarious how fast this year has gone by. And yeah, I know Digi's being an unk. Okay, that's fine. I'll wear the hat. Um, the issue of how fast the year goes by, it's one of those social conversations slash arguments that you usually have either as an icebreaker or just a remark on how the year's been going by. I remember having this like internal monologues and discussions with other people, not just myself, about how, I want to get into the year and be deliberate and take care of stuff. And the thing that I've been deliberate about is going through the year, but there are things that I've meant to do that I haven't quite gotten to yet. But at the same time, 2026 isn't over. And if I can refocus and knuckle down on some things that I'm trying to accomplish, then sure, we can we can get some things done, we can get some things knocked out and benefit ourselves. Thank you, my friend. And no, don't feel bad about cracking jokes at all. I've said this before. A good roast between friends is welcome here. I welcome the occasional joke or little friendly jest, so to speak. I'm very blessed with a group of people that like hanging out, whom I've connected with over the years, whom we can just like have fun together. Now, about the beacon and about Blender, you actually gave me a good segue to talking about it. I've been trying to reconcile with the tools that I've been using and the process that I've been going through to actually render things properly. I'm going to address the elephant in the room. There seems to be a problem with how I am attempting to render Blender and import the exported models into FS 2024, probably even to FS 2020. So you know what I might do? Starting with the beacon, I'm probably going to use this opportunity as a chance to not necessarily start from zero, but take time to review my processes. Model Converter X worked for you. You've talked about that before. Let me actually open a window and remind myself Model Converter X, just so I don't forget it or lose it to the chat. Then export it to Collado. So SketchUp, export to Collado. See, okay, when I got started with this as something that I enjoyed doing about 4 years ago, at the time, we were pretty much in the thick of it with building scenery for FS 2020. And over those first 2 years, roughly, the SDK and the scenery development community kind of stabilized, and we had some pretty, I guess, well-established or fairly well-established processes for whatever it was we were trying to do. And now with FS 2024, before, and how we have significantly newer versions of the SDK and a new official Blender exporting mod for Asobo, models and model matching. I I don't know. Like, I know I'm trying to finish KLFT in Louisiana. I know I'm trying to do stuff, but I think I at least owe it to myself to take a moment to stop, look through a tutorial series on how people are actually creating and exporting models, because there's something wrong with animations not being exported, and there may be something wrong with material textures not being exported. And I think I solved one of the two problems. Problem number two may be solved by me starting to use composite textures instead of separate textures for, normal maps, roughness maps, and the albedo texture. The composite texture pattern, I think, bundles a bunch of stuff together in one PNG, which then lets the new export algorithm deal with it. At least, I think so. And this is something I've talked about before, so I think it's high time for me to actually put for me to put my mouse clicks where my mouth are and to start sensibly. Hey, Cleared for Chaos, good afternoon, and Larry Gopnik, hello. You've been doing this a bit lately, hello. Occlusion, roughness, and metallic. That's right, composite textures. Model Converter X will make graphic sheets by lowering draw calls and also degradation for LODs. Okay, now you've got my attention, Eric. Now you have my attention. Okay, okay. Now I know there was some kind of brief blip where there was a Blender export option using Simplygon to automate levels of detail for 2024 or even for 2020, but I'm gonna have to take a look at that and get serious and commit to it for like maybe a week, maybe a couple of weeks in August or a couple of weeks in September can be pun intended, me going back to school so that I can relearn or figure out what the best process is going to be, because clearly I know enough to know that I'm either messing something up or I'm not using something properly. So, whatever. Substance Painter. There's a tutorial online somewhere. You better believe it, my friend. I heard about Substance Painter before. Okay, all right. We're going shopping. Substance Painter. Substance Painter. Substance 3D Painter 2026? Or are we talking about Adobe Substance? I don't know. Adobe. Okay. So, paint game-changing textures in real time. And if I buy now, how does this work? Oh, this is a subscription, 3D collection and 3D texturing, $59.99 and $24.99 monthly, respectively. Okay, that's cool, and it's also kind of rich for my taste right now. But let me actually get back to that. Let me write that down. Adobe Substance Painter, and yeah, I'm writing this as we go. This is actually very beneficial. Okay, we have steadied at flight level 390, and top of drop is going to be in roughly, what is that, 150, another 15, 20 minutes, probably 25. You pay for Substance Painter on your own. Okay, well, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. See, when I got started, there were a couple of people that showed me the ropes, and at the time, I was able to get by with some of the PBR texture generation freewares that were out there, but I never got into Substance Painter, and I got pretty far with the animations that were available before. I want to finish even a rudimentary version of the KLFT scenery so that the terminal is customized and so that the jetways are where they're supposed to be. If I can do that, then I can at least be satisfied with that and either totally uninstall FS 2020 and get back a huge chunk of hard drive space, or at least not worry about making any more add-ons for FS 2020 at that point and go full bore all in FS 2024 Scenery Dev, which is what I intend to do after KLFT is wrapped, or at least after the terminal is created, which I am doubling down on along with the Beacon Tower. But no, I'm not going to quit on FS 2020 for KLFT because I want to follow through with that. That will literally be my last 2020 airport before I focus on 2024. Instamat. Okay, Instamat's more complicated than Substance Painter, but I'll look into it. Thank you. Instamat. I'll look up Instamat online. Do I have a connection to KLFT? Well, yes and no. I don't live in Louisiana and I don't live in Lafayette, so I don't have any personal ability to go to take pictures of the airport or whatnot. But let's just say a friend or two of the channel have been faithfully following my attempts to build that airport. So I'd like to finish it, especially since I've been off and on for the past 2 years. Yes, because when I did several airports for FS 2020, I never had to worry about LOD. Number one, usually because I was using default assets almost every time, and number two, because when I did my payware for Whiskey 904, I rendered custom objects and I let them go. And the custom objects were not that complex. So it wasn't like I was taxing people's resources. It's just that level of detail 0 didn't go away until you were really far away from the airport at that point. So I didn't do levels of detail at that time. Thanks. Now, this might surprise you, but I am a bit of a closet, enthusiast for linguistics. So you talk about language, you talk about things like, dialect, accents, stuff like that. So when you talk about, like, for example, going to Louisiana, as opposed to how many people say Louisiana, and going to New Orleans, but some people say Nolans. And it's like there's like a story, or there's definitely a difference there, and I focus in on that sometimes. I like thinking about things like that, or I listen to the way some people that are native to a particular part of the country talk, which then makes my brain go, that's different. They say it differently than I might say it if I didn't know. So again, I'm not an absolute genius. I'm just saying I know enough to know there's a difference. There it's like Lafayette. Here in Nashville, we have a street that is Lafayette. Interesting. Right. So it's like, you don't quite know what to expect with certain names, but I try to be a quick study. So while I don't know a terrible amount, I don't know that much about the local culture. I understand there's definitely French, Creole influence. There's just a different culture there. So, I'm mid-Atlantic. I've been to New England a few times. I've been around New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland. So we do things differently up here. Differently than folks that are in Florida or Texas or in Nashville or Mississippi. So there's differences in dialect, there's differences in vocabulary, and what we're shooting for in terms of what we think about or talk about. Do I know how to say that? No. I'm gonna take a running start and probably say nachitoches, but that seems way more Hispanic in approach. So I'm gonna say no. I don't know how to pronounce it. Nakatish. 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 Interesting. It's like the last OCHES is treated like a T. That's weird. That is a super weird one. Whoo-wee. That is definitely weird. And for the record, definitely nothing like I expected it to sound. So, I made a good call on saying I didn't know how to pronounce it. But that's definitely something which is a very interesting thing to think about. Pronunciation, language, things like that. I also like a little bit of history, not much. I almost minored in humanities when I was in college. I'm a software developer right now. But humanities became my go-to subject to squeeze to pump the brakes for more grades because college and I had a tumultuous relationship, I'll say. But I did graduate and I did get my degree. We're not going to talk about my GPA. But I did finish, which I'm grateful for. We've got, I want to say, another 20-ish minutes before top of drop. Not bad for today's flight. I mean, I'm going to be probably another 40 minutes before I get to Fisher Park. But let me take a look at the map and see what we're going to be looking at for our arrival. In terms of minimum altitudes, we're probably not going to want to be lower than roughly 9,000 feet when we start coming into the ILS approach, but I'm probably going to want to be around 12,000 or 11,000 or so at the transition to the ILS, which means we're going to have to drop roughly 27,000 feet in this distance. So I'm going to judge and say that's about 60 nautical miles. I might begin my approach even earlier. No, wait. Top of drop is here. Yeah, that's gonna be like about 60, 70 nautical miles. I think we'll be fine. When walking down the aisle, one of them winked at me. I Yeah, like I said, I had a tumultuous relationship with college, but I finished. I I almost got vanquished by math courses, but I managed to pull it together. I was also doing a kind of paid internship program, and what happened was I decided to take out a personal loan and finish over the summer to complete my courses. I didn't graduate with my graduating class in the year which I should have, like in the semester that I should have, but I did complete my requirements, which meant I got my degree, my actual physical degree, which is in my office, the following spring or whenever it was that I got it. I think I actually picked it up like 1 or 2 years after that. But I have the physical paper that says that I completed my Bachelor of Science degree. So it took me a little bit of extra effort and plenty more money, but it's done. And I am fortunate enough that I can say that those debts, those loans that I took out to be able to afford the education have been paid off. And I'm very grateful for the support I received to do so. So the degree is mine. It's paid for. It's like a car. I actually have the title. I don't have the title of my car. I'm making payments. But I've got the paper that says I am a graduate of blah 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 school. It was it was an interesting time. I'm gonna say that. Things were different. And when I say that the you know the times were different, I really, really mean that. They were not these times. They were different times. And I don't make a point of going into details about my personal life too much on stream, and specifically anything personally identifiable, but it's like I say, I kind of joke, but I'm kind of serious. I think most of you will most likely be able to peg how old I am roughly based on my conversations and based on my interests. I will never confirm this on stream, but if you even have a rough idea, chances are you're right. With that said, I am doing my best to be both prodigious and diligent about taking care of myself and the family, because times aren't perfect. In fact, they're kind of rough, but my desire is to do my best. Oh, right, and to set my altimeter for about my altitude for about 11,000 for our drop. Okay, so about 11,000 feet is what I'm going to shoot for on initial descent. I don't know if my procedures actually have acceptable VNAV, but I'm probably going to use flight level change again to get down to where I need to be for Glacier Park. That's it for me with regards to language and college and recent goings on with medical journeys. I'm also trying to, on top of getting good at scenery development, again, pursue other things like going through my pile of papers and hobbies and whatnot. And I think a lot of us have our own piles that we keep. I used to look at my parents' dressers and wonder, when we all lived under one roof, if I had to go into my parents' room to, find something for them before they went out the door, or if I was going in there to leave them a note when I was visiting after I got married, I would look at their dressers and their cabinets and see papers on like, keys and stuff, and say, and just, think about how how packed their desks looked. And I'm looking at my desk right now, and it reminds me of the exact same thing. I don't know if you are like me, but I tend to sometimes put things on my desk because I want to remember to get to things to look at, or to remember to, take care of my chores. And sometimes what happens is the things that we intend to do wind up being the things that we just don't get to immediately. I know I'm guilty of this, but it's also more than that. It's also it's also me trying to figure out as much stuff as I can as quickly as I can. And I don't know, again, I don't know if you feel the same way I do about life right now. I just know I've been trying to figure things out as quickly and as efficiently as I can. And I'll be the first person to say, I don't have as much time as I used to. And unfortunately, I think I fail to prioritize the things that are actually important, and I fill my life up with sand. And what I mean is, I try to accomplish things that I think are important. And sometimes those things that I think are important are actually important. The problem, of course, is that there are a lot of things that aren't. And I'm talking about, misplacing my understanding of priorities in terms of, oh, I have to get this done for work. Oh, I have to get this done for my hobbies. When I have parents that are advanced in age, and I have bills that have to get paid, and I have other adventures that I need to live, that I should be living, which I'm not paying attention to. Did I go past my top of drop? I might have. No, wait, it's right there. It's right there. Top of drop is right there. It's coming up just past. It's coming up past. Well, we're past Zaxby. We're on our way to Holy Bee, but that's where I see it. Yeah. Almost thought I missed it. But yeah, I was just talking about how life moves fast, and the things that we fail to prioritize usually wind up becoming the things that litter our desks. I mean, metaphorically, yes, but also physically. Like, I have CDs on my desk. I have books on my desk that are sitting on top of a laser printer. I have a kit that I literally haven't opened in about 3 years that I could use to solder electrical equipment. The solder of which probably needs to be replaced. Not like, the actual, the physical material that I can use to create things. I'm gonna have to get a replacement kit for it. And it's like, I look at all this stuff and I'm like, knew I liked you for a reason, Eric. but like, work with me on this. You have magazines, you have projects you want to do, you have lessons you want to teach your kids. I don't have kids, I have cats, but basically they're kids. Yours are better. Or I should say, yours are human, mine are feline. And it's like, we think we have a line on what we're trying to accomplish, and it's so easy for me to derail and to figure out an answer to something else more quickly because I feel like it needs to be paid more attention to. I'm looking at you, work, when I don't necessarily need to be putting in overtime all the time to solve an issue. I should be putting in overtime to care for my family, to make sure that I'm going in the right direction. And spiritually, for me, that's with a relationship with God through Jesus Christ. I should be taking care of myself physically, things like that. And let me take a few seconds. I'm going to go idle and begin my descent, and probably begin my descent right now because I'm just about to pass over top of drop if I haven't done so already. And let's do flight level change, and let's pick 230 knots for the speed, or at least 210 for now, and we will adjust. And we'll go full idle. And that feeling of your stomach being in your throat is courtesy of a 4,000 foot per minute drop. Or maybe less. But now we're good. Now we're descending at roughly 2,900 feet per minute. And I don't necessarily know if we need to be, but I do know that we are, let's see, how far out? We're roughly 60 nautical miles out from Olby. And even if we go about maybe 14,000 feet above at Olby, we'll probably still be fine for the approach into 02. But yeah, like, I look at my desk, I look at the stuff that I'm dealing with, and I'm like, wait, why am I not doing better? Why am I not taking advantage of time to do stuff? I'll tell you why. Because I'm burnt out. Because I'm toasty. Because I push myself and give between 120 to 140% on most days, driven out of a desire to do better, to demonstrate to people at work that, hey, I can hack it. When the discussion really isn't about knowing that you can hack it at all. It's about understanding, hey, if all you do is get good at work, and you can cram work and absolutely pile drive through work, don't be surprised when work is all you do and you start to lose grip on your health, your personal time, your identity outside of a job. That's not what I want. And the kid that got into software development many years ago is now looking at what's going on around him and going, is this what I want to continue to do, or should I be looking at something else? It's a legit concern for me. I think it's important to, you know, not have work be my identity. Clearly, my identity is wrapped in God through Christ, my Savior. And for those people that are wondering why I'm mentioning these terms, it's because I am what you might call a born-again Christian. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. But my hope is that the creator of the universe, Yahweh Elohim, sent his son Jesus to die for me on a cross over 2,000 years ago. Not just to make my life better here, but for me to spend eternity in heaven with God. And if I choose to not trust Jesus as Savior and Lord, then when I die, I spend eternity, or will spend eternity, in a place called hell, separated from God forever. And I don't want that, because I choose to believe that Jesus dying for me and rising from the grave on the third day is him saying, you could never live the life you were meant to live on your own. I died so that you wouldn't have to. You wouldn't have to be separated from me for eternity. And I'm also here to tell you folks, I'm not trying to force what I believe down your throat. If you don't want to believe it, or if you prefer not to believe it, you are no less welcome to take a break here, because I genuinely enjoy having company. I like chatting with people. I will say I have mods for a reason. So if people want to troll or be stupid or be particularly offensive, there's this thing called a door, and you will basically be escorted out. I trust my mods, and I've basically deputized them to handle the crowd. But chances are, if you're in my chat right now, even if you're lurking, it's because you meet certain criteria. I am not what you would call a career Twitch streamer. I routinely tell people you simply being here is a gift. If you chat with me, even better. If you feel so moved to support me, then you can go through the route of, donation or subscriptions, but you don't have to. I like having friends here, and if you're able to even chat, it's usually an indication that you're the kind of person that I want to listen to, or you're the kind of person who's patient. Yeah, but what you mentioned, Eric, before is also like, I want to work hard, but I also want to take care of my family. And you can do both in the right way. I don't want to double or triple or quadruple down on doing work so hard that it lands me in the hospital. And I'm going to be transparent. I had my numbers run earlier this year after I went to go see my doctor for a routine checkup. And let's just say my numbers weren't nice ones. So that's hard as nails proof that I need to back off. And if I'm tempted to do something like, pull an 11 or 12-hour day, I can mentally scroll back to my labs and say, hey, look at this number right here. Yeah, look at that one. That's not a good number. Do you think you putting in extra time at work when you're not going to get more money for it is going to help that number improve? If it isn't, don't do it. Yeah, and hyper focus is something that I occasionally have, clearly with regards to scenery development. But I will also be ultra transparent. I think there are benefits to where I am for wanting to be involved in scenery dev, and there are also afternoons, even afternoons like this one, where I look and the next thing I know, my brain's like, hey, dude, take a break now. You're not going to be able to do anything right. And no matter how badly I want to perfect anything, a hangar, a beacon, an airport, um, it's not going to work out. And my brain's going to be like, no, I'm done. You're not getting anything out of me. So the sooner that I come to accept that some days are going to be like that, and that I can simply make it to the end of the day and rest, probably the better. You just couldn't keep it mediocre. And yeah, I hear you about the caregiver stuff, because for me, caring for my wife is not optional. Does it take energy? Does it take commitment? Does it take, the ability to actually perform it? Yes. But even more so, it's actually one more reason for me not to get crazy with work. Because if I have no energy at the end of the day, I can't take care of anybody else, let alone my wife, let alone myself. So it's like, okay, what am I going to do? I need to do what's right. And I need to not go bananas. Is my barrow not adjusting? Hmm. Oh, there it is. I was using the wrong slider. All right, cool. All right, great. I have pressure set for Glacier Park, and we are below flight level 180 since local pressure from here on in. Hence why we say in sickness and in health, you got it, dude. And I had, I had, I had seasons in the past where I was recovering from surgery, and they were surgical procedures which were not minor. So at the time, my wife was able to work, and she was putting in a little extra to take care of me and to make sure that I was looked after. So, yeah, that's a thing. It's an actual thing. I think when I reframe scenery development from the perspective of saying something like, hey, my desire's there, but my implementation is off. Let's take a little while to make sure we're using the tools properly, and then we can have fun building things without dealing with so many issues like, hey, I'm trying to build this, and for the 11th time, the textures are off. I'm so frustrated, I want to just, like, yell. That's not fun. So, again, I'm going to be taking some time to making sure that my craft is better. And I'm going to take a look at the suggestions that have been passed along to see how those technologies can give me a hand. At the very least, I'm going to make sure that I do some tutorial research. And, oh, sit still and consume content in a controlled environment and write notes and look at those notes when I'm actually doing the stuff so that I don't feel like I'm messing up all over again. You know, things which could actually help me. How about that? Larry, what would want to make you yell about Blender and MSFS? What? I see the kappa. I just reached out to you when there was an issue with KMSP. Yeah, no. I get it. I think I get it. So no. Eric, you do not have to feel bad about reaching out to me for help with KMSV. I'm more than happy to assist. Now, let me get some spice back in the engines because we have reached 11,000 feet and I do not want to stall. And yes, it is physically possible to stall a plane at any speed, but let me get set up here. It does look like we have 02 in use, and we do have some aircraft on approach, so I may have to mine them coming in. I don't think anybody else is in the vicinity, which means I should be able to slot in behind them, and by the time I come into the final approach, we should most likely be fine. So, when I get to GOGS, what what altitude should I be at? GOGS is going to be 9,000. Okay, 9,000. And I think we should be fine now. Yeah, I think so. Let's go 9,000. 9,000 and vertical speed descent at 1,600 feet per minute should be fine. I know a lot of people have different opinions about it, and this is basically my perspective. I think it is a tool, and it can be a great tool. In my experience, for my specific use case, there are certain things which AI encourages, which I think is sometimes best left to you know, creative use. And what I'm trying to say is, I think there's certain things that I don't mind doing through AI, and there are also things that I want to avoid doing through AI unless I'm absolutely stuck. Because I'm supposed to be the one writing software, and I'm not saying I should continue to do everything by hand. But it's kind of like the transitionary periods that have come when people have done things like transition from using a slide rule or an abacus to using a handheld calculator. You know, certain people, certain industries, certain roles either got eliminated or changed. Software development isn't going away, it's just changing. It's a new way of Googling. Jackpot. That's pretty much it. So yeah, it doesn't mean that I mentally check out and go, "Oh, great. Now I have something which can basically write everything for me." Well, I got news for you. Software development is not just about writing software. In fact, writing the actual code is one of the, I'm going to say, least um expensive parts of the entire process. The actual process of writing code involves a whole bunch of human interaction and requirements refinements. So writing code is actually just a piece of the puzzle. It's definitely not the entire kit and caboodle. We have to destroy the printing presses. Well, at this point I don't think it matters. And I don't think AI as a hardware entity is going away. But do I think there's a way to use it such that we'll be able to both do what we need to do as well as keep ourselves, aligned with proper requirements? I think so. But like anything that's worth doing or that can be done well, it's going to take effort and commitment and, other than accountability, a good approach. That's actually a pretty good point, Eric. You ideally you should probably know what the program is going to do before you actually try to do it. Now, I'm also okay with people not I'm also okay with people not what am I trying to say? I'm also okay with people not necessarily understanding how things work to a degree. Let me activate approach, excuse me. Approach. There we go. I'm glad it latched onto the glide slope and localizer. I'm okay with folks being less knowledgeable about how everything is coming together, but there has to be a point at which you understand, at least in part, what the process is that you're doing. If the answer is, hey, I just prompted it and created it, then, you know, hey, not to say that none of us have avoided doing that, but there should be a striving to understand what it is that got generated and be able to defend that when you actually talk about the code. That's my perception, at least. Oof, wow. Binary code? Oofty. That is way out of my depth. Now, I will say that I do have some interest in learning about assembly and learning some less popular languages which actually power quite a few of the things that we do on a regular basis right now. But I'm going to say that's going to be at the service of time and at the service of what I should be focusing on. Oh, look at that. That's actually, dude, that's actually another GA aircraft. I don't know if it's a GA aircraft on final or not, but we are we are passing it. Meow. Excuse me, coming through. That's kind of funny. Now, how far away am I from the runway? Can I see it? Yeah, runway's in sight, so it's probably like a 3 or 4 mile final at this point. No, like an 8 mile final. C++, yes. And of course, AI has the capacity to do stuff when it's unfiltered, unmonitored. So, we have to be the human in the loop. We have to do our best to take care of business, as it were. Okay, we're 250 nautical miles. We've got about 7 miles on final. We're at the outer marker, and we've got winds variable right on the nose, about 13 to 14, 15 knots. So I think we're slowly beginning to slow down to approach speed, but we could probably go slower. Oh, Eric, that's dope. I didn't know you wrote text adventure games. That's kind of cool. I've dabbled with graphics. I know that it takes a bit of determination to create the the graphics engine, but once you start talking about the graphics engine for a game, you start talking about the game loop. You start talking about the pieces of creating a game, the logic, the AI, and I mean, like, the actual flow, how the game updates, how decisions are made. So graphics is one of those things. But I'm right there with you. I had difficulty understanding it until I got to the point where AI happened. Excuse me. um, to the point where I got through AI. No, to the point where I learned how graphics worked. That's what I think I was trying to say, and that's recent. 500. Let's drop the gear now, and hopefully that will shave off some speed. And I'm also going to shut off autopilot because I'm at the airport. All right, Chad, stand by. I am not flying with a gamepad. I'm actually using a joystick and throttle quadrant, so I'm hoping for a better landing than my gamepad landings normally are. I'm also super shallow. Okay. Gentle, gentle. There we go. Pretty zippy. Not bad, not bad. I'll take that. I'll take that. Give me a moment to peel off the runway and I'll check comments as we taxi up and out. Macintosh, or when they called them Macintoshes, but Macs in general. I mean, I was there when Mac was going through that, weird all-in-one monitor slash computer phase. Now, let me take a look at the airport real fast, see where I need to go. And where are we? Actually, the FBO is literally right around the corner. Yeah, pretty much right here. All right, welcome down to Glacier Park. It does look like we have some company, President accounted for. Go ahead and peel off here and go straight up to the Jet Center. Not bad. I think I came in, the last time I flew into Glacier Park, I came in from, I want to say Calgary or Edmonton. I don't know. Oh, wait. Are they waiting for me? Let's see. Let's just belly on up to the bar here. Okay. I will set the parking brake. And that's it. I will stop the clock. And basically about an hour and 8 minutes on the timer. We're good. Let's go ahead and turn off the engines. Depressurize the cabin. Hold your breath. Oh! We're fine. All right, let's go ahead and request the GPU. Set shocks for now. Get the GPU attached. Turn it on. And turn fuel pumps off. And for that flight, we still have 1,032 pounds of fuel remaining. So I think we burned through probably about 180 some odd gallons. No, wait, we had like 200 some odd gallons. So I think we burned through like 100 some odd gallons on the way in. Seatbelt signs can come off. Reset the ELT, turn hydro pump off, ADS airway off, window heats off. And again, we depressurize, turn ignition switches off. Flaps are 0, parking brake is set, and we can turn off nav lights. And the engines are off, so the strobe lights are definitely off. And that's it. Cabin upwash off, and that is it for that. Let's go ahead and turn off the batteries and generators, and that's it. Okay, so question: do I want to do anything else right now? I'm tempted to do one more flight from Glacier Park to Jackson Hole. Before I do that, let me make sure that Mrs. Digi is taken care of. If she is, and she's in the middle of stuff, and we're not even going to touch anything until about 6:30, 7 o'clock, then I might go ahead and do that. If there's any indication that she needs assistance or that she would prefer I get started on, dinner preparations early, then I'm going to hang out here for another maybe like 10, 15, 20 minutes, talk about things that are ahead, and then we will wrap up for the day. Let's see. all these smarts, and I still can't find the click point to remove the yoke from the Electra. Let's see. My first flight was on a Mac Classic Misfits 4 on the back of a Scientific American, and said that is what I want. Oh man, I what am I going to tell you? I was doing flights with Microsoft Flight Simulator 4.0. I think I did 5.0, and I also spent time doing flights in the Sublogic flight sims when they were around. So definitely a fan of the old school flying. But I mean, if you would have shown a screenshot of this to us 20, 30 years ago, I think we would have said, no, you're in like a multi-million dollar simulator, and you're not doing that at home. And now we are, which is dope. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, so folks, bear with me. I'm going to step away temporarily, and then we're going to see where we are for a potential second flight, or at least some more hangout time. Sit tight, BRB. All right, chat, I have returned, and hello to Fuzzy Pickles, my friend. I was on a break. I was just checking in with Mrs. Digi to see where she was. I have been doing the deal in Flight Sim. We just wrapped up our first flight from Seattle to Glacier Park. And now I think I'm going to do, if I can actually hack this, I might do a second flight into Jackson Hole. But I need to find out whether or not we can actually hack it today. All right, so let me go ahead and get myself set here. The first thing I need to do is to figure out whether or not it's actually even possible. So, new flight, generate a new flight departing Glacier Park, going to Jackson Hole in the Phenom 100, which is what we have today, of course. E50 Echo 50 Papa is the designation for it, and we are going to be doing pounds. An hour and 40 minutes of block time, which means an hour and 10 minutes of flight time, which is pretty much gonna be around the time that I think I had planned to wrap up anyway. So, I think there's a good chance this might work. So, November 6532 Zulu is the aforementioned registration, and we're going to generate the flight and see what we have to do. We can also import into the flight computer, and we will do that momentarily. So I'm going to reset my timer, and we're going to figure out what has to happen next. So we're going to unload the flight that we had, and we're going to load a new flight. Import from SimBrief, Glacier Park to Jackson Hole, and we're taking off runway 02, and we're landing runway 19er, which is fantastic because if we do this the way that I want to, we're going to be coming in over the, or just past the Tetons. So we are north of the Du Noir VOR when we come into Jackson Hole. We can't just come in from the west because we'd have to come in over the Teton mountain range, which is possible, but definitely not ideal. Fortunately, like last time, there aren't going to be that many waypoints to account for, so we shouldn't have too much of an issue getting ready. All right, chocks and the GPU are currently on, and I have turned off the batteries and generator, so I'm going to turn them back on and reset for the flight. I'm also going to get the passengers set up with the same thing we had before, which was, this thing called oxygen that we breathe. Let's just confirm. There we go. We are restoring oxygen pressure. We're going to pressurize the cabin once again, and we're going to set the ignition back to auto and also get seatbelt signs back on, fuel pumps on, and ELT back to armed again. Hydro ADS AOA, and now we're going to start planning the thing. So let's go ahead and change the flight. So Seattle, we're going to change that. So can I change that, or do I have to start over? I don't exactly know how, but we're going to try. It's not letting me actually do anything at the moment. So menu. Oh, here we go. Delete flight plan. Wonderful. Now it's gone. And that's how we take care of it. So Glacier Park to Jackson Hole, roughly an hour, like 15-minute flight. We'll be leaving on runway 2. And then we're going to get to Jackson Hole. and we're going to land on runway 19er, which is really, in my opinion, the preferred approach, unless, you know, you have no other way of doing it and you have to come in from the south. So that's fine. Now we're going to load the flight plan out of Kalispell. We're going to be taking the Ridge 2 RNAV departure. So go to procedure, pick the departure, Ridge 2, 02, and the transition is going to be Ridge. So there's our flight plan loaded for the departure, and then the destination is going to be what? Probably the ILS Zulu for 19er coming in from Du Noir, which means our flight plan is going to tap into it. And let's go ahead and set the approach. Approach ILS Zulu, and then we're going to be coming in from the yeah, there we go. We're going to be coming in from Tokud. And what's weather in Jackson Hole? I need to know. Weather is clouds scattered at 11,000. We should be visual with the runway once we get below that. So a radio altimeter of 200 feet should be good, unless, no, we're good. Unless there was some reason to make it more than 200 feet, which we're fine. So let's go ahead and load that. Load, and it's not approved for GPS. We should be visual. We should be fine. Okay, so now we have the arrival and we have the departure, but we don't have the en route waypoints. We have a few. So we're going to be going from Ridge to iPark. And then from iPark, we're going to be going to Pets, which is Papa Echo Tango Tango Zulu. And then from Pets, we're going to be going to Tokud. So those are the only two en route waypoints we have for the entire flight. And that's the approach to the ILS Zulu for runway 19er at Jackson Hole. Jackson Hole is an airport in a national park outside of Jackson, Wyoming. So there's our flight plan. And for the departure out of Kalispell, we're going to be climbing, let's say initial climb we can make 10,000, but because we're not on any network, we can climb up to final climb, which in our case is again going to be flight level 390, which we can do because, as you've noticed if you've been here for the first flight, we have very potent engines. So 39,000 feet is actually quite doable in the first 20 to 25 minutes of flight. And since we're going to be flying for an hour and 15 minutes, we should be able to hack it. So there we go. Let's put on the flight directors again and put on the yaw damper again. And we don't have to worry about radio altimeter. It's going to be the same. We'll just start the timer when we depart runway 02. So, excuse me, let's take a look at the chart for Kalispell. We're at the FBO. If I'm going to take off on 02, I'm going to make a right turn on Bravo 4, left turn on Bravo, and follow Bravo all the way down to the end of the runway where we depart. And we have our final climb, which means we just need to get going where we need to go. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to set the nav frequency. So, is it already set for me? I think it is. What is the, oh wait, hold on. One of the reasons I think the first localizer didn't kick in the last time is because I didn't set it. Hey, Wisconsin, good to see you. Welcome. We are getting set for a flight from Glacier Park to Jackson Hole. So the course and frequency is 109.1 for KJAC, which we have on nav 1. Course heading is 187. 187. 187 set. Now it is, yeah. So CDI number 2, we need to make sure that heading that's actually properly configured. Okay, so that's also going to be set to 187 as well. That's course heading number 2. This takes a little bit longer, but this takes way less effort. Good afternoon to everybody, and I hope you're having a very good Wednesday. This is flight number 2 of a surprise stream. I usually don't do second flights at all, let alone in a surprise stream, which is funny. But now we have the nav and we have the localizer set for both of them. We have the GPS set. So we are right here with the GPU. We have some airliner traffic, and we'll be probably pushing back to go here. I could do a straight pushback, or I could just kind of taxi myself out, which is probably what I'll do because I'm fine at this point. So let's go ahead and remove the chocks and the GPU. We have generators and batteries both on, so we should be fine. GPU is gone, chocks are gone, and GPU is out the way. Parking brake is set, flaps are 0, throttle is idle, and we're going to get out of here. Let's turn the nav lights on, and we should be able to get started. Parking brake is on. Let's activate engine number 2. There we go. Engine number 1. Engine number 1 is online. Okay. Give me flaps 1, please. Flaps 1, going in. The runway that we're taking off on is 02. 02 is a 9,000 foot long runway, 9,007 feet to be precise, so we should be fine. I suspect we'll get about half to 2/3 of the way down the runway comfortably before we have to rotate. And before we go, let's top off with some fuel just to make sure we're fine. I figure we'll probably get there with fuel to spare, but I'm gonna put in 1,700 pounds again. And that's about as much as we took off with out of Seattle, like minus 40 or 50 pounds. So we should be fine. Just got topped off. And again, real quick check. Annunciator lights.
Fire. Fire.
And stall warning.
Stall. Stall.
And that's it. Okay, real quick check. We have pumps on, seatbelt signs on, ELT is armed. Yep, should be fine. Laps are 1. Let's go ahead and release the parking brake and get out of here. All right, take care, folks. Light director's on, yaw damper's on, taxi light is on, and now we're going to Bravo 4 for our left turn to Bravo. Heh, I get the feeling this was not the ideal turn, but this is good. Okay. To those of you that stuck around during the brief break, thank you. To those of you that have just joined in, welcome. We are in Microsoft Flight Simulator, what I like to call FS 2020. We're flying from Kalispell to Jackson, Wyoming. Kalispell is in Montana. Jackson is in Wyoming. So call this a bit of a, quick blast flight as we get out of town. And this can be done in GA aircraft. This can also be done in airliners. Because as you can see, they come here. This scenery is a freeware available through flightsim.to. Same with the Jackson Hole Airport that we're going to. The aircraft we're flying right now, or riding in right now, is a payware aircraft courtesy of the Cockspur dev team. The company's called Cockspur. It is the Embraer Phenom 100. It's either the 100 or the 100 EV. It's powered by some pretty peppy engines. I suspect they're Pratt & Whitney's. And this thing has a service ceiling of 41,000 feet. And it looks like we're almost out of town. How fast am I taxiing? About 36 knots. Good gravy. Okay, now, assuming that this United is on final into Kalispell, and since I know we're going to have enough fuel to make the flight, barring any unexpected go-arounds or diversions, I'm going to settle at the whole short marker and make sure that my plane is configured. So, parking brake is on. Let's just make sure we're set to go here. We'll be departing on runway 02, taking the Ridge 2 departure. When we depart on the Ridge 2, we're going to be going to KSEC, Evil, Knievel, and then Ridge. I think there's a pattern here. Then we'll be going direct iPark and Pets before we get to the ILS approach for Jackson Hole. We are climbing to our max cruise of 390. What have I been creating? I've been trying to create an animated beacon for a friend's scenery for Kilo Mike Sierra Victor. I forget the name of the airport, but it's supposed to be a beacon tower, like a tower, a pole that has a spinning light on top. And airports have beacons. Civil airports have beacons that flash white and green. So I'm trying to make it animated, and I'm also trying to finish it for him. Now, I have had a few streams where I've worked on it, but at the same time, I've been running into some issues, and I talked about that during the first flight. I want to get back to, making sure I know what has to be done. And I do think this plane's coming in. I think. Let me see. I think that's them. I also think they are a considerable ways out, so I'm not going to worry about it. We can go now. So let's go ahead and start the timer and let go of the parking brake. Yeah, I like creating things. I like creating things a whole bunch more when it's not being blocked by issues with the software or me not knowing what to do. Okay, so here we go. Engines are stable. Let's go. Full power. Flaps are 1. For some reason, it always likes to steer in a certain direction, so I have to be right on top of the rudder inputs. We're past 120. Let's begin the rotation. And that's it. Up, up, and away. Positive rate, gear up. Feet. Let's go flaps in. in about 160 knots, and let's go ahead and activate autopilot, nav, and flight level change to 171 is fine. 170 is official. Now I'm using flight level change as a kind of improv auto throttle. To get to 170 knots, we either climb until we starve the engine of airspeed, and then that modulates, or if we're going slow, the climb rate will slow until we get back to 170 knots on our way out. Okay, flaps are 0, gear is up, and we are headed out of Kalispell. Wow, this area is pretty. Take a peek outside. Yep, so that United is just coming into land now, which is cool. Climbing at about 2,800 to 3,000 feet per minute. And we should be probably at flight level 390 in about 20 to 25 minutes. Coming up on 10,000 feet. And 10,000 feet means I can turn off my landing lights. So, lights are off, nav and strobe lights are on, and upwash is off. We have flaps 0, gear up, and we banked 1,700 pounds of fuel for our flight today. Come aboard, everybody. We are flying to Jackson, Wyoming. We have some folks with us in the cabin. You could say they're longtime friends. And we are enjoying a flight out of Montana into Wyoming. We just left Kalispell's Glacier Park International Airport. And I'd suspect we have about a little over an hour's worth of flight time to Jackson, where the temperature is probably somewhere around the low to mid 80s, and it looks like there's not that much humidity, which is, I think, good. Just along for the ride. Yeah, the interior of this plane is nice. It is cozy. You can take 4 passengers with you, and a pilot, a first officer, and maybe somebody here to work the flight service. So possibly a crew member, but I don't think that's the case. And one of the reasons why I don't think so is because this aircraft is actually rated for single pilot operation. So I don't need a first officer to be able to fly this plane. So if there is somebody sitting here, chances are they're either a first officer or somebody here to serve drinks, should the case apply. But this is what we call a very light jet. It has a small footprint, so to speak, so you're probably not going to be doing extravagant things with it. But again, if you can book a flight on a plane, you've probably got the money. Well, if it isn't my friend Crafton. Hello, my friend. Good morning to you. I believe it is Thursday in the beautiful land we call Australia. Hopefully you're doing well. I just wrapped my first flight from Seattle to Glacier Park, and now this is my second flight from Glacier Park to Jackson Hole. We're flying from Montana to Wyoming, and we're flying in the Phenom 100. Captain, I'm better than I deserve. I'm trying to take life one moment at a time, and I took Mrs. DIGI today for a post-op visit with her doctor. Just trying to figure out what the next steps are going to be for pending pending continued pain management and the like. So we are doing our best to keep moving forward, and with some reservation, I'm grateful to be in a place where I'm a little bit less concerned about finances. I'm not out of the woods by any stretch, but it's nice to be able to, catch your breath for a little bit. Yeah. So IRL stuff with regards to work and life, it is what it is, and I'm grateful for being in a spot where we can enjoy breathing air a little bit easier. And the challenges that come, we'll take them one at a time. You know about some of the other adventures I've been on with regards to looking for work and dealing with my work stressors. Right now, to be honest with you, the concern for me is just making sure that I appreciate what I have, because I know a lot of people would want the problems that I have right now with regards to, hey, I don't even have a job right now, and you do, like, you know, take it easy, dude. To which I respond, you know what, you're right, thank you. So I am grateful for where I am. I'd like to be a little bit better off, but that's just a part of the continued journey of what we call self-improvement. But God bless you, my friend. And thanks to everybody else that's lurking or hanging out today. Really appreciate all of you. Like I said earlier, you don't have to show interest by subscribing or cheering or donating bits, although those are always appreciated and encouraged. Even if you just lurk, you're doing my channel a favor. So thank you for stopping in today. Of course, I welcome the chat, and I appreciate having you guys aboard. We are well on our way to flight level 390, which is 39,000 feet, as we leave Montana and head on over to Wyoming. Today's flight's going to be pretty peppy and pretty quick. We have a little bit of weather that we're dealing with, a little bit of rain, not much, and we've got pretty much a straight line from Ridge to iPark, which kind of makes me laugh because iPark, if I recall, was a waypoint that I sometimes came across as I flew from either Idaho Falls or Boise into Jackson. So yeah, we're not far away from Jackson at all right now. We're literally going to get there probably before 7:15 local time. "11 hours and 30 minutes. Okay, that is definitely not quick. But I'm sure when you touch down, and Lord willing, you will appreciate the miles covered. I used to do longer hauls, and I'm not saying anything against them. I think I'd appreciate that, and maybe I'll even dare to do across the pond to Europe in my own way in either October or November. In general, though, my interests have waffled between, scenery development, the occasional flight, the occasional episode of trucking, racing, and the like. I talked a bit about some of the challenges that I'm taking on lately, but I'll take some time to talk about some of the actual things that I'm indulging in. And believe it or not, military combat simulation might not be far off. I am an old school gamer, and I grew up with titles like Gunship and Gunship 2000, Falcon 3.0, and even Falcon 4.0. And one of the things that was out was an old simulation of stealth technology. Microprose had a combat sim called F-117 Stealth Fighter. Now, I can pick that up on goodoldgames.com right now. I should probably be able to pick it up for cheap. Oh, yeah, Roger, we want you to touch down on land and not on the ocean. Good. I'm curious about simulating combat missions with dated graphics because in one sense, it's almost silly that I'm going to say this, but it's going to simulate being in an old military combat simulator doing runs with like stealth photography and like stealth attacks and stuff like that. And it would be cool to do, or at least I have a growing amount of interest in it because before F-117 Stealth Fighter, there was F-19 Stealth Fighter. Similar concept, but older title. And since I like the Commodore Amiga, there is a title that lets me practice, so to speak. It's okay. Somebody gave me a call. Who was it? Oh, right. That's fine. Whatever. So, yeah, like, I have a growing interest in those old Sims because they remind me of days gone by. And because I'm a bit of a nostalgic, I like to think about stuff like that and enjoy. So I don't think I'm going to be streaming that anytime soon, but I'm probably going to be doing that offline, off stream, to kind of, you know, rekindle an interest and a fascination in old sorties. So that's most likely something I'll be talking about on my Discord. And in fact, I already have. If you're a member of my Discord, one of the channels in my Discord home is Retro. And Retro is going to cover old games across old platforms, like the PC and the old Amiga, or other platforms like the ZX Spectrum or the Atari ST. Neither of which I personally have, but I'd be interested in playing with both of them. And in fact, I think I have played some old ZX Spectrum games in the past on a different system, which I might take on again in the not too distant future. I guess I have to figure out what I want to do. I guess. Whatever the case, we are chilling out as we approach 39,000 feet, and way off to my left, there is another plane flying southbound, which is cool. Is it listed? How far out is it? Probably more than 35 nautical miles, so I won't see it. We do have some planes crossing my flight path, but they're not a factor. Again, thanks so much for everybody that's hanging out today. I typically do not do these kinds of streams, certainly not during weekday afternoons. It's usually because I am either at my desk in the office at home doing work, or I'm just wrapping up work, I'm just getting settled in, my family and pets are like, transitioning with me into the evening phase, which is making dinner, all these things. Today was different because I took Mrs. Digi to a doctor's appointment and did the things, and we came home, ordered food, and now we are on our way into the evening. After this flight, I'm going to park up at Jackson Hole Airport and we're going to say our goodbyes. I'm most likely going to power off the PC, quite possibly for the rest of the evening. And then I'm going to chill, have some dinner or some really yummy snacks, watch an episode of The Chosen, and then either do a Bible study or otherwise pray with Mrs. Digi, watch some fun stuff together, and tackle the rest of the evening as it comes. What's for dinner? I think a part of a leftover sandwich that we had and some fries, and or anything else that I can whip up that's in the fridge or in the freezer, like a TV dinner. And probably tomorrow I'll either make pasta or another batch of rice and maybe stir fry, or yes, I still have some pork. I might even grill some pork tonight, as a matter of fact. So there's some pork that I have in the fridge, and the fridge stays cold, but the pork's been in there for a few days, and I want to use it before I lose it. So I'll probably be making some kind of either pork chop or steak thingy tonight. Grafton, take care, my friend. Lurk away, and if I don't catch you until next time, have a great rest of your Thursday, my friend. Much love to you. God bless you, indeed. Okay, so we are approaching flight level 390, which is good because our forward speed is not that impressive. It's okay, we'll pick up speed as we continue. And then we have how long until top of drop? Let's take a look. Ooh, wow. A good 200-ish nautical miles, or about 180 nautical miles until TOD. So we're settled for a little while. We've got some traffic crossing, but again, not a factor. They're about 4,000 feet below us. I am going to check the approach for Jackson Hole and look at altitudes. So I'm going to say we're probably going to want to be around 14,000 feet by the time we get to Tokut and we turn right to the Du Noir VOR, which is Delta November Whiskey, which is going to feed us into the southbound approach. But I don't think we're going to want to be anything lower than our final approach fix of 8,000 feet. So I might even delay the descent slightly. But I'm going to go ahead and set the altitude now because I think 8,000 feet is where we need to be for the final approach fix once we get lined up with runway 19er. Does that confirm? Yusku is the final approach fix with an altitude on it, 8,000 feet. And the current altimeter, or the last altimeter check for Jackson, was 3008, which is what it is right now. So, simple enough. Not too shabby. Looks like we've got a 737-900 on the way to Seattle. Interestingly enough. Get back to where you once belonged. Okay. Sheesh, we've been ripping through the topics today. This is fun. I talked about plans, scenery dev things today, things I'm probably going to try to do. The rest of this week, I'm going to try to put in the effort to studying and to getting better at doing scenery development and making sure that I can do it. I might do something. I'm probably not going to be streaming tomorrow or Friday. Depending on what's going on, I might either do a stream on Saturday or Sunday. It depends on any planned or unplanned activities. So we're going to see what happens. Again, right now, I'm not planning on streaming Thursday or Friday. I don't know if I'm going to be streaming this weekend. If I don't, then hopefully I'll be able to do some quiet streams next week. But I hope to also, step back into this appropriately and enjoy the process, because I owe it to you guys to enjoy making scenery. Well, okay, let me stop. I think I owe it to myself. If I'm not enjoying it, then it's going to be evident if I stream something and I'm kind of griping through it. And believe me, I've done that in the past. But also, it is something that I enjoy doing because I like creating. I like flying in a sim, clearly, but I also like creating things. So it is something I want to continue doing as well. But I do have to admit to you guys that I've been hanging around with a bunch of retro gaming streamers, not the least of which is Amiga Bill. And I like the Commodore Amiga. I have a Commodore look-alike system, a fake breadboard, if you will. And I might actually play some games on it tonight just for fun and enjoy the process and figure out how to make it even more enjoyable. If I don't do that, I'll either be playing some handheld arcade games, or I'll be doing a little bit of tinkering around with my Linux Raspberry Pi. I recently got an SSD external drive for it, and it turns out it actually runs really, really well on an external drive. Now, I am going to go ahead and say it runs warm. The hard drive runs warm, but basically it was actually rebooting when I tried overclocking the system. And as it turns out, that's unnecessary. I used to overclock my Raspberry Pi to get faster speed out of it, but the problem with the Raspberry Pi is you use a micro SD card as kind of like the hard drive, and unless you have like an industrial strength SD card, like that's rated for really intense use, eventually you're not going to be able to write to the card or continue to use it. It's going to go bad. And I have gone through quite a few micro SD cards over the past few years. So it became apparent to me that if I wanted to actually use my little Raspberry Pi computer for something meaningful, I was going to have to figure out a way to make the storage options more reliable. I considered getting an NVMe hat for it, or an attachment, but the problem with using NVMe on a Pi 4 as opposed to a Pi 5 is that let's just say the highway doesn't support the speeds at which a typical NVMe stick runs at. But an SSD drive, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. The only problem is if you're using an external drive with a Pi, you're asking for more power, which means things are going to run a little bit hotter. Theoretically, I can order a more powerful power adapter for it. I could actually use a Pi 5 adapter and a Pi 4, I believe. But since I'm no longer overclocking the CPU and I have a mild GPU overclock, we're fine. We're fine. So it's not going to be a problem. The performance on the actual Pi is quite acceptable. I'm not flying a simulator on the thing, and I'm using it to get comfortable with Linux and to do more Linux based stuff. So sorry, I was just checking up on Mrs. Tishy. She's not feeling well right now. Let me get a few things for her and stretch my legs for a little bit. Not gonna take me more than 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'll come back and we will continue the flight. We've got easily another 20 minutes until I think top of drop, 15 to 20, and then we're going to be lining up for our approach into Jackson Hole. So sit tight, give me a bit. BRB. Hey folks, I'm back. Just dipping back into the flight deck here. Just help Mrs. Teachy get some stuff set up. She's going to be working on some crafts this evening. And looks like we're still well on our way over to iPark, so we're not even close to top of drop. We should be fine. Yeah, just wanted to make sure Mrs. Teachy was taken care of. And looks like we're still doing okay right now too. We've gone through about 500-ish pounds of the 1,700 that we've refueled with. If I would have left it at 1,000, we would have been somewhere around 500 some odd pounds, which I think we probably would have been able to squeeze out to get to Jackson, but we would have been cutting it close. So I think we'll wind up having about 8 or 900 pounds left in the tank when we're done. I want to say. But we're doing okay today. I mean, today's been a pretty good day for flights. I wasn't expecting to. I didn't plan on a stream, but I decided to do a stream, and I wasn't planning on 2 flights, but we did. Originally, I was thinking about doing a really lazy, quiet 777 flight from like Minneapolis to, excuse me, from Seattle to Minneapolis, and then during cruise I would have been like going through like my books and whatnot. But then I thought, wait, why am I doing that? Just do, a couple of fun flights, connect with people, and then once you're done, and then when you're really, relaxing and going through paperwork, you can focus on that. I think I talked about this a little bit earlier, but I'm also trying to be deliberate about doing things. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm trying to focus on doing one thing at a time, as opposed to being tempted to multitask and having my sim running in one window and having, a YouTube browser open in another window with something playing, and then having papers on my desk and having a book open and having my phone doing something. Like, I don't want to split my brain in like 5 different directions just to be able to pull off some kind of persona that says that, oh, I've got this cooking and this going on. Why? Let me just have a good time with you guys, like streaming a sim, and then when I'm done, I can cook. And then when I'm done cooking, I can sit. And when I'm sitting, I can read. And when I'm done reading, I can just rest. I'm trying to, for the rest of the year, and I'm not saying I'm going to succeed very well, but I'm going to try to not do as many things at once as I wanted to. I'm not a superhero. I'm just some guy that loves Jesus and is full of flaws that he came to save me from. Honestly, I just want to do my best for my family, and I want to share my time with you guys and enjoy this thing called flight simulation, which is pretty cool. It can be pretty fantastic. If anybody's wondering, I am in Microsoft Flight Simulator, what we commonly refer to as FS 2020. There is a newer version of Microsoft Flight Simulator called FS 2024, or Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, which released a couple of years ago. And this is not that version because this aircraft is more compatible with the original reboot than 2024 because of, I guess, the systems or the software developed. This is the Phenom 100, and if you haven't seen it before, I'll share what the outside looks like. Headphone warning if you're not careful. I'm gonna give you a chance to live on it, but I'm going outside. It's one of my favorite business jets, pretty much of all time. And I like flying it. And one of the reasons I really like flying it is because I've gotten to learn it over the years. I've bought it for FSX, used it in B3D. I learned how to fly on VATSIM using this. And I just enjoyed it. I still do. There are faster aircraft. There are aircraft that fly farther. There are aircraft that fly higher. But this is this cute little thing that cuts across the sky at 41,000 feet and we're close to 380 knots of ground speed. This is not as fast as a 777 at cruise, but on top of the fact that we're dealing with like a 35 knot headwind improvisationally, we're dealing with like a 70 knot crosswind right now. We're a tiny jet, so I'm happy with what we have. iPark is still about a little bit less than 100 nautical miles away, and when we get to iPark, we're probably going to be getting to the approach really quickly. But that's fine. Yeah, like I said, I want to take the rest of this year and treat it gently. I want to enjoy the time that God has given me. I don't want to take advantage of anything or anyone. Yeah, I think it's gonna be quite possible that I'm going to probably whip something up on the griddle. Can't quite see what that is, but I know it's flying overhead. That's cool. I'm probably gonna do something like that once we get to the end of the stream, and then make dinner, chill, settle into tomorrow, and settle into the weekend. Not quite sure what's going on at that point, but we'll take it one step at a time. Let me keep myself awake a little bit. I'm going to drink a little bit of a Mandarin Orange sparkling soda. It's more like sparkling water, but it's fun. I like sparkling water. I like flavored sparkling water as well. But I also happily drink seltzer, with or without lemon. I don't drink soda that much. In fact, I usually try to avoid drinking it at all. But I will take occasional sips of like Coke or Sprite. Dabble in a little bit of Dr. Pepper every once in a while. I would say if there was one soda that I could pick to drink at any time and not worry about the effects of, and not worry about sugar content, if it was, between quotes, free, I would drink ginger ale. Ginger ale has a definitive like taste for me, and I enjoy it. I would say it is my favorite. Really nice day for weather in the sim. I know we come across a few splotches of rain here and there, and some slightly gusty winds or bumpy turbulence on final. Excuse me, and Lord willing, we will finish nicely. Although, I kind of confess, I'm looking forward to doing winter weather ops in X-Plane, because the weather will take you out if you don't respect it. And I know because it did that to me. I was looking at old computers and, gaming ideas earlier. Let me know in chat if you had any old computer or video game systems. I have an interest with things like the Atari Lynx, the Amiga, the Atari ST, and to a certain extent the the Dreamcast, the Sega Dreamcast. I had a Dreamcast at one point. I don't anymore. I think if I was going to pick a system to get back from my past, it would probably be the Dreamcast. But if I could pick any one system to use for any length of time, it would either be like a full-on original Amiga or an Atari Lynx. The Atari Lynx was like the really big handheld, which had a small screen, but you could actually play games on a portable screen. It's just that it went through batteries because you had a backlit color display. An Atari 2600, nice, nice. The Atari was, I mean, it was definitely not a forerunner. It was an example of what happens when a video game system meets a decent gaming library, and people stick with it. It got popular. I mean, there were also the 5200 and the 7800. I don't know how powerful the 5200 was, but I think the Atari 7800 was about as close as they got to, I think, Nintendo Entertainment System level power. And of course, who can forget the old Game and Watch handhelds? I mean, again, showing my age here, but if you were playing with a portable game in the late 80s to early 90s, the chance of you having a Nintendo Game and Watch screen, like for like Donkey Kong or Mario or anything, or even like a Tiger handheld LCD game like Double Dragon or Turtles or Outrun. There was a lot of liquid crystal display technology, in heavy circulation at the time, and this was before the Game Boy, the Nintendo Game Boy, really took off, and the graphics were limited, and the sounds were very limited, but it was nothing to pick up a Tiger handheld console for like 15 or 20 bucks at Toys R Us on sale, and then you basically had your own little portable arcade machine imitation of a game. And looking back on that, to me, that's actually a bit of an achievement. There are some people that probably don't hold very hard regard for those LCD games, but like I said before, I'm a nostalgic, so I like them. I do. I probably will be messing around with the Commodore tonight, or at the very least, doing my best to rest. I'll need to, clearly get back to work tomorrow and punch in to whatever projects or tests or troubleshooting has to be done. So I'll do my best to hit that fresh, and then hopefully we'll get our issues taken care of before the week is done. Okay, I see something on my main display. This thing that says Todd, T-O-D, that's top of descent, and it's going to be coming up in about 30 to 35 nautical miles. We've got traffic in the area, nothing directly on my flight path, and then basically this is essentially the Teton mountain range. This area here, we're going to be going around it and then turning right to final to runway 19er. So we are pretty close to arriving and getting our second leg in the books. Once we begin descent, I suspect we'll be arriving in like 20 minutes or so, 25, because I'm probably going to descend and maintain about 250 knots right until we get to approach. And then we will turn final, drop gear, set up the flaps, and hopefully touch down nicely. We floated a bit at Glacier Park because I was coming in very fast. And in fact, I passed some aircraft on the way to final. So, as long as I'm not being chased down by anybody in a 737, I should probably be able to land at a more respectable speed. We'll see what happens. I think I know what I'm going to be reading tonight. And I am trying to do some more recreational programming for fun. Maybe finish one or two game ideas that I have and mess around. We'll see what happens when I get to that point. I might not be coding this evening, but maybe either Friday evening or doing something for fun, like a really fun side project. Or, a side project in my side project. By the way, let me know in chat if audio levels are off. I've wrestled with lowering the sim volume for a long time, but usually what happens is the sim volume is actually pretty low and my mic is really hot. So I try to keep things more balanced so you hear more of the sounds, and I just have to talk deliberately loud in order for you to hear me over everything. Okay, good, thank you. I like having confirmation, and I also like to know that you're not struggling to hear the sim. Yeah, it's also weird to analyze your sound levels by listening to recordings of yourself. I don't know about you, but that's like, ugh. Let's just say it's unnerving at best. Isn't this a picture? I've got my one cat sitting right next to me. She's been hanging out for the flights today, and usually is with me in my office when I'm working remote. That's a privilege I am not taking for granted, believe me. I'm very grateful for that. What levels do they reach? That's actually a pretty good question. When I talk on the microphone, I usually go between green to yellow easily. Sometimes red, usually not all the time. My mic is virtually all the way up. It's also running through NVIDIA Broadcast, so it's gating and noise suppressing the microphone. I have my levels for desktop audio almost at the top of the green range. So basically, it's taking up about 75% of the green range, and it's not in yellow. If the audio was yellow for the game, then I'd be competing against that with the microphone, or rather, you would have much more difficulty hearing me because I wouldn't be coming through as clear. I think the sim levels where they are probably good, and I could probably increase them even a little bit more, but I think they're okay right now. That is something I am debating. Possibly, possibly even performing some minor peripheral updates to audio so that I have like a standing mic and better control or just better overall sound. Because I've gotten some feedback from people in the past, and if there's a way to improve quality without spending too much, I might do that. I'm not 100% sure, but it's crossed my mind, believe it or not. Okay, so these things are going to be what we skirt past to get to the airport. Relatively sure, unless they're further out and they're here. I think that's it. So, coming up on top of drop, just about now, and I have, let's see, what, 40, 60? Yeah, we're about right for levels. So let's go ahead and begin descending now. And flight level change will set up to be 210 knots as we begin our descent. And then as I'd say as we continue, I'll probably increase it, but not much. Okay. That's one can of sparkling drink gone. About 1,600 feet per minute. So let's see, 1,000 feet per minute. In 10 minutes, I'll be down 10,000 feet. 2,000 feet per minute. In 10 minutes, I'll be down 20,000 feet. So 15, 1,600, about 15, 16,000 feet. Excuse me, which is going to put me slightly above where I want to be, but being above the mountains is far superior to being in them. Okay, let's increase the forward speed and give it a little bit of extra pep. Yeah, I really do think these are the Tetons. Now we're going to go for 230 knots indicated. Looks like I'm seeing more of the ground coming up to meet me, and the terrain here is quite varied. It's impressive. Tetons confirmed. About 2,500 feet per minute is a bit faster than where we need to be, but at the same time, we're fine. I'm probably going to hang out around 230 knots because the approach is a little bit technical, and I don't want to be going too fast when I turn final and land at Jackson Hole. Great day for a flight into Wyoming, I would have to say. And what was the actual altimeter? It was 3008. That's odd. Oh, there we go. There we go. 3008. Let's go. Coming around to the front side of the Tetons, and the airport's going to be somewhere around here, I think. There or there. Now, let me take a look at the approach. If we go mist, we climb to 6,900 and then a climbing right turn to 14,000 to the Kickney waypoint, which is way outside. There's a small airport called Alpine, which is not where we're going. We're coming in with some pepper. I think we'll be okay. I think. Yeah, I think we're going to catch up to the required altitude. I also think we're way above these mountains, so I don't think we're going to have an issue clearing until we come to final. Although we are descending a bit faster than our desired final approach speed. We shall see. Once again, a big thank you to everyone that's stopped in today and hung out. Really appreciate each of you. Grateful for everybody lurking. Even if you haven't said anything, you are bringing attention to the channel. I appreciate you. Now, let me review the plate again. I think we want it to be at a minimum altitude of about 14,000 feet coming through this area. We definitely are. And when we come into Tokad, Watbu is going to be the waypoint after that, around 12,900 to 12,800 feet. I don't think we're going to have a problem hitting that or being just above it. If we were coming into Watbu and we were at flight level 220, that would be a problem because we'd be about 8,000 feet over where we need to be on the approach. I think we're going to be fine. Look at that. they're blurry from a distance, but I'm saying they look, that's got to be a nice view to come into. Again, like I said before, Jackson Hole Airport, I think, is the only major airline operational American airport that's inside of a national park. Okay, so pretty much once we come in, I think we can we? We could probably even activate the approach now, but once we turn, once we come off of Token, we'll probably be fine to activate the approach. We're getting in there. I adjusted for local pressure early above flight level 180, but better early than late. 16.2 nautical miles to Tokad. I'm assuming we're going to turn somewhere between 6 to 8 nautical miles before we actually turn right. Not too bad. It looks like we're getting real close, but again, we're like at least 3,000 feet above stable or minimum altitude, and we're about to make a right turn. So the peaks in this area as we come into the final approach are going to be between 8 and 9,000 and 10,000 feet. So as long as we don't go below that, we should be okay. Close enough to start seeing some vegetation. Definitely a frontier-like land out here. We are 7 nautical miles. I might actually activate the approach now, to be honest. Approach is active, or should be. Now we're turning. Going to Watbu and then going to Dunoir. This landscape, wow. And this is just an FS 2020, so FS 2024 is probably going to bring even more precision or detail. I think it's the same imagery, but I think it's better rendering techniques in 2024. It's just that this particular plane is more compatible with or more comfortable in 2020, which is why I'm here. Yeah, I'm actually glad I came in at about 230 knots because that's just like the sweet spot apparently for that descent. Okay, and Watbu is about 5 nautical miles. We're going to be a teensy bit below, so I'm going to, I don't know, I think I might level off here. will it level off for me? I'm curious. I know we're way above these hills, so that's not necessarily a problem. But let me level off at 11,000 for now. Finish our descent, and then stick around at 11,000 until we start coming in and we have the Tetons in view. Then I'll finish descending to, I would say, 8,000. Yeah, let's go. Okay, let's give it some more pepper. I think about 210 knots through this section should be fine. And this plane knows how to bleed off speed when the gear comes down, so I'm not worried about going in too fast, as long as I time it properly. All right, one last peek at the plane before we touch down. Look at that. It's been a bumpy day all around in terms of turbulence coming in. And let's set up 8,000 feet. $8,000 set. Now we can finish descending, and we will do so at about, I'm going to say 1,000 feet per minute. Actually, maybe even a little bit slower. 600 feet per minute. We will be turning on the final very shortly, and then we will activate the approach mode and follow the beam down. We could also just do a purely visual approach. I mean, it's a great day for it. So no biggie there. How are we doing for altitude? We're a little bit under where we're coming in, but we're going to probably resolve by the time we line up with the ILS approach. I'd rather come in early and slow than late and dive. $1,800. Actually, we're right on profile, or will be. Excellent. Yep. Kind of a hot day, The air's kind of bumpy. So 9,400 something, just a little bit below, not as much as we were previously, of course. Okay, and once we turn final, I'm going to go ahead and activate approach mode. Actually, I can probably do that now. Approach mode's armed. I believe so, anyway. We will see. Okay, we're not quite there yet. Let's go ahead and encourage it. Autopilot's off. It's my aircraft now. Let's go ahead and drop gear. And I will set the go-around altitude as quickly as I can. There we go. Okay, we're a little bit below glide. We can fix that. Okay, Mr. Approach altitude set. Now we're coming into the localizer. Give me some trim, please. Let's clean this plane up. I'll take flaps 1 now. Winds are coming in just past the nose at my 1 o'clock, varied about 7 to 10 knots. Good times, good times. Up to B though. Okay. Somewhat stable by 500. I'll take that. It is bumpy. Sheesh. This is bumpier than Glacier Park. We're still a little bit below glide. Deal it. We will roll with it. And here we go. On final, virtually idle, flare. A little bit excessive, that's fine. We're not going that fast. And down. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Jackson Hole International Airport. Local time is most likely 5:01 p.m. if it's mountain time, which I believe it is. And let's let's go ahead and take the strobe lights off. Taxi lights on. And we're not going to the terminal, but I can show you the airport really quickly. Let's go ahead, stop the clock, finish the taxi. About an hour and 17 minutes of flight time. That's not bad. That's actually pretty good. Let's see, which way do we go? Let's go this way. Plenty of jets parked in, including a TBM. Yeah, we're good. I'm happy with that. Get myself turned around here. And I think that's going to go ahead and do it. Let's park up and shut her down. Yeah, that'll do it. Parking brake is set. Throttles are idle. Flaps are retracted. And let's go ahead and turn off the engines. Engine 2 down, engine 1 down, and that's that. Okay, taxi light off, nav and strobe lights off, upwash off. Let's turn off cabin panel lighting, because we're done. Depressurize the cabin. Ignition switches to off, all the way off. And what else do we need? Well, depressurize. Window heats off. Hydraulic pump and ADS AOA to off. ELT to test reset. Fuel pumps to off. And seatbelt signs off. And today, I was right. We spent a little bit more fuel flying to Jackson Hole than we did flying from Seattle to Kalispell. So we spent roughly 900 pounds, where we spent about 800 or 700 pounds, about 700 pounds flying from Seattle to Kalispell. We spent about 900 pounds flying to Jackson Hole from Kalispell. So what else am I missing? Not much. Let's go ahead and go to reset, go to transponder. We're going to go to standby and zeros. And what else do we have? Flight director can come off. Yard apron can come off. Theoretically, it should have come off on the final approach, but we're fine. And that should be that, I think. Let's go ahead and take care of business. I'm going to put jocks on. We will get the covers for the engine nacelles. Cargo doors open. Control lock for the controls. And I don't think we're going to need the GPU because we're shutting this thing down. So that means generator 1, generator 2, and the batteries can come off. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that. Let's go ahead, proceed to open this thing up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Jackson Hole. You do not have to go home, but you cannot stay in this aircraft. And welcome down. So, there we go. People can get their luggage. And we have the engine covers on. And we actually even have a another plane which is spawning for departure from here. A real plane, probably a business jet, that looks like an Alaskan Airlines 737. So, let me take a quick peek around the facility and show you what the actual passenger terminal looks like. So, let me move my joysticks out of the way because we're here. We're here! This is a freeware airport through flightsim.to. I'm happy with it, actually. And there's more detail you can get through a payware airport, but honestly, this is fine. The entrance, um, check-in, security, and then we go to the terminals, which eventually lead to the aircraft. It's free and it works for me. Yeah, looks like a 737, which is interesting. It's okay though. I'm happy with it. So, folks, thank you to everyone that stuck around for today's flights. Thank you for being with us as we proceeded to do the things. We have arrived in Jackson Hole. I was not planning on 2 flights, but we had fun. At least I did. And where are we? Let's go here. And there we go. I can't close it. Ka-chunk. We have arrived, and that's going to go ahead and do it for today's stream. I am, again, most likely not going to be on tomorrow or Friday, unless, of course, I do something Friday afternoon. I don't know what this weekend's going to look like, so stay tuned on Discord for more. Otherwise, I'm going to go park up and grill something and take a beautiful picture of the Teton Mountains as we enjoy them parked up at Jackson, Wyoming's Jackson Hole International Airport. It's been an interesting adventure today. I appreciate having all of you with me. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for hanging out. And like I always like to say at the end of every stream, if you want true peace, you want the Prince of Peace, and that is Jesus Christ. Take care, friends. Have a great rest of your Wednesday or Thursday, depending on what corner of the world you call home. Stay tuned to my Discord for updates, and if for some reason you are not a member of my Discord and you'd like to be, do me a favor. Click on this link. This is your opportunity to join the DIGI Discord, where we talk about life, scenery development, things involving my personal faith in God through Jesus Christ, along with interesting and funny retro-themed conversations, old video games, new video games, and the occasional, maybe, dad joke or two? I don't know. Whatever the case, folks, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Appreciate all of you. And until next time, actually, before I dip, let me see. Who is on right now that I can send this wonderful crowd onto? In case you are curious, who is on? Okay, my friend Flyconti is an X-Plane 12. He's another Flight Sim streamer. Let's see who else is available that I could actually say hi to. Although right now I think I'm gonna raid him. Let's see. Dryson is doing a GA flight, and Oslo to Bodo. It's NorCali. Let me see. Da, 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 da. I am probably going to look at a specific individual unless they are going to wrap up their time. So I know exactly who I'm going to raid. There we go. Raid's being set up. All right, we're gonna raid Fly Conti. Feel free to use any Digi emotes you have if you so have them. Otherwise, have a great night, folks. Stay in touch, and maybe we'll catch you on the flip side before this weekend's done. Take care, everybody. We'll see you. Bye.